Hello, everybody. Welcome into the LFC Transfer Room. My name is Jack. I'm absolutely delighted to be alongside Rigo, Charlie, and Drew for a stream here today discussing some transfers, some club-related things. We had Alexis McAllister about 3 years ago, and now we're waiting for the next signing to be made this summer in earnest. So we're going to chat about some things here today. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to the page, like this video, and get in the comments live here, talking about a lot of things. First of all, though, Rigo, my friend, how are you doing this afternoon?
Doing great, doing great. I'm very happy to be back on the stream. Good to see you guys and chat all things LFC. Some interesting news going on today.
Indeed. Charlie, yourself?
Yeah, really excited. Aren't we getting Mbappe? It's happening, isn't it? No, we'll talk about it in a bit. I'll try to calm down.
We're getting Mbappe. Drew?
Yeah, spit out my breakfast as I was running late to this stream because I thought we were signing Mbappe. But we'll talk about that, I guess. How you doing, Jack?
I'm good. I'm very, very good. It's been a fun last few days for myself. News, I think, moving a little slower across the transfer sphere than we would have liked, I think. But we can kind of start digging into things. There's been rumors with a guy that I'm not very familiar with. My good friend Rigo and Charlie are going to be the resident Turkish football experts. Arda Guler, rumored to have a £15 million release clause, 18-year-old. I think I've ran out of all the things I know about him. Young, highly touted prospect. Rigo, kind of why should I be very believing that he's the next big thing?
Well, if you did a quick search on Twitter or Google, possibly, you'll come across a highlight that would be a goal in any form of football, and that was the goal that Arda Guler scored the other day in international ball coming off the bench. He's a 5'9" attacking midfielder, left-footed, and the reported release clause is very enticing, but I think some news has come to light lately that his father's looking to match that release clause with his own payment in order to secure his son's services. So that might pose a bit of an issue financially, at least for Liverpool Football Club. But he's rumored all the European powers are taking a look at him, so it'd be very interesting where he moves. He definitely has a lot of talent. Mainly coming off the bench this season. In 905 minutes, he scored 4 goals and assisted 3 times in the Super League, and that's for Fenerbahçe. Charlie, I'll kick it over to you for your thoughts on the player.
Yeah, he's a really, really good player. I mean, the goal that Rigo's talking about, if you ever remember the goal that Salah scored against Roma in the Champions League at Anfield in the Annie Road in the top corner over Alisson, that's pretty much exactly what you're getting from Arda. And he's 18, and he's banging them in at that age. Obviously, he's got the technique, he's got the quality, composure to be able to, play that kind of that movement and everything that you'd look for. I think that the thing is, and we've got a very special guest with you, Rigo. Yeah, I think the concern is just like what Rigo was saying about his old man. If he's after a bit of a pay packet as part of the deal, it's not maybe a case of it's a problem right now, but if you're thinking about in the future, there's kind of negotiations for bigger contracts. That next big move that he may get after that next, the first one, would the dad want more money at that point again? So does it set a bit of a precedent, something that you would be wary of in the future? That's like my concern in terms of the ability for the player. He's got it. It would be a really, really good signing. Someone that could learn from Mo and overtake.
Definitely an interesting one. First of all, want to thank Jen for the £1.99. As always, the support is very, very much appreciated by all of us here at the Transfer Room. Been around for feels like ages. Jen, I always appreciate you. Drew, you and I, not experts on his game. I think I want to talk more about the age profile, bringing in an 18-year-old. What I've seen just kind of from reading through the comments is similar to a Carvalho situation, which feels overly simplistic, but almost, allowing that thought process to go. Signing a player of that age, 18 years old, when he likely is going to be difficult for him to get minutes immediately. Is that a low priority for you then, Drew, in terms of assigning this window?
Yeah, definitely, especially if he's around the first team. I think we were talking in the chat, or it was put up about how many non-homegrown player spots we have. So I wouldn't want him taking up a spot when we haven't addressed the midfield. As far as the age profile, I'm with you on that, because I think it's always a gamble when you buy a teenager, expecting them what they'll do, because I don't know. There's a lot of hype around him. I think Charlie sent a video to me the other day that showed the goals, and I looked up a quick highlight reel. He looks amazing, looks promising. YouTube videos and compilations can't do that though for a lot of players. You can type in pretty much any player and get a pretty nice compilation. But I trust Rigo and Charlie's opinion on him, and I think he could do a job, but it just doesn't seem like the priority, and a gamble at that age with how much money's involved in the total package. We shouldn't even be looking at this right now.
The question is, I think, could I look good in a YouTube compilation? If we've gotten to the level where, I mean, AI advancements, could I look good? I think we're getting pretty close to that, and that's a very exciting time.
I was going to say, just on that, Jack, was as he's 18, if we signed him today, having played 3 seasons, being registered as a Liverpool player for 3 years before he's 21 for 3 seasons, he would count as homegrown come 21-22. So there's that advantage for us to get him in. He wouldn't count as that non-homegrown player taking up a spot in that respect. So he would actually grow into that homegrown player, even though he's Turkish. So there is that bonus. There's that added kind of incentive to try to think about that long-term kind of contingency plan for Mo.
Yeah, and for you, Charlie and Rigo, kind of to put a button on the Guler discussion, how high is that priority for you? Obviously, a top talent. The money could make it a little difficult to have that be, just slide in as an extra little addition to the window. How high does that rank in the priority for the immediate this summer?
I'll go first on this. I think just for the simple fact that we have Ben Doku as well, waiting in the wings to play on that right-sided attacking role, and likely the need to play Harvey Elliott in less of a midfield role and more of an attacking role as well, looking for minutes there. I'd place this lower on the priority list unless it was a value deal and we could get him for close to that release clause plus a little bit extra to grease the wheels for that there. But definitely a talented player, and again, we should be looking to capture these talents prior to them blowing up, because as we've seen, we can't afford to compete with the Chelseas, even Man Uniteds, let alone Man City, and now the Saudi League teams for this type of talent, unless we want to pay not only a big transfer fee, but also really high wages as well.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think that's quite sensible. Getting players in before they break into that stratosphere that we just can't afford. So getting players in, just like what we did with Mo and Mane and players like that, get them in at the good age. This is obviously very, very young, but he's got it all. Just needs to have that right environment. Klopp could make him into an absolute world beater.
It is interesting, it feels like we don't have the financial capabilities to compete for the finished products, but for some reason we don't, go for the unfinished ones, at a ton of a big rate. Carvalho and Elliott, I think, have been small attempts at that, and I think Elliott has been a bigger success than Carvalho has, obviously, but I still think you could categorize both of them as successes. Hopefully, long term, we begin to try and take a few more punts. Chelsea do that unbelievably well, I think, with just buying young players. They've got a good loan system, and just selling them, a few years later. They do quite a good job. All credit to them. Interesting one to follow. Make sure you follow along with all of our pages to see if that deal progresses much further. Talking about a guy who's young, rumored to be going towards Liverpool. Jeremy Doku has been rumored to join Liverpool, for the last feels like half decade. He's now 20 years old. Again, according to L'Equipe, reported Liverpool are interested in him at Rennes. But Charlie, I'll toss this to you first. It's tough for me to think about a forward being brought in when there are just other holes in the squad. And it feels like it's hard to just get anywhere beyond that in terms of assessing this as a potential transfer.
Yeah, and especially when it's the position that he plays in, where we've got so many players. We're talking about the left side of attack. So Diaz and Gakpo can play there, Jota can play there, Curtis Jones. The list goes on and on and on. I don't think it's a position that we actually need to think about at all for the next few years. Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. Not too sure where it's come from, how reliable that link is, but as in terms of the player, not really the type of player that I think kind of would generate the numbers that we would expect to see at this time, and try to justify any type of move. It's a strange one.
Indeed. Drew, for you, Doku, I mean, it didn't really materialize in the past few years. People viewed it as especially a Mane replacement and eventual long-term, guy to come in that role. Luis Diaz feels like he has done that on the left wing. For you, Drew, Doku, anything in this one for you?
No, especially since midfield's the priority. But I think Charlie's point at the end about the numbers that he has kind of points out to me too. I know that he's only 21. He's young. He's definitely talented. Has a lot of skills. But I think was it like 9 or 11 goals in 90 appearances. We kind of rely on our wingers traditionally to score a lot of the goals, and doesn't seem like that's a facet of his game. Maybe that'd be something Klopp could work on if we did get him, and maybe that's something you talk about in developing a player. But Charlie already said it. We're stacked in that position. We have more than enough forward options. Everyone knows we need midfielders, so it's a bit of an odd one. And again, homegrown player, that one definitely would not count, and we can't have that take away from midfield at this point.
And Rigo, for you, just on Doku.
On Doku, definitely an interesting prospect. He's 21 years old. We've reportedly been interested in him for quite a number of years, since he was 17 years old. Even had him visit Merseyside as well. He didn't end up signing for us, obviously, but we've been keeping tabs on him. His underlying numbers, I know the end result is what we kind of judge on, goals and assists, those hard counting stats. But his underlying numbers and percentages over 90 minutes do show that it's a player with very good potential. He's speedy and creates a good number of shot creating actions per 90. And I think he's somebody who Klopp, again, would be able to take to that next level, since we are purchasing before they kind of hit superstar status. I think it would be interesting. Again, the unfortunate part is that we all now we've been kind of trained to think in terms of money and value, and are we able to afford this player? Are we able to afford this player? As opposed to, this is what we need, and therefore we're going to go out and grab it because Liverpool needs this type of player. We want to go after trophies, and that's the unfortunate business. If money wasn't a factor, and I think with a lot of the French clubs, money is a factor as far as raising funds, we could probably get him for a good deal. He's 21 years old, right on the precipice of busting out. So I definitely would take the chance, especially if he's able to play on that right side. We don't have a real Salah one-for-one replacement, especially with AFCON coming at the turn of the year. I think we kind of have to think that out long term. But I definitely would like to take a chance on him, but we'll see what happens.
It does feel tough to see in this window, but we shall see, obviously. Again, make sure to subscribe to the page, like this stream, get in the comments on some of these signings. Let's go to the title of this video, Mbappe. I don't want to. This is just such a fascinating, we refuse to let the belief in ourselves die, and we refuse to just realize the money really isn't there at this club. This probably will never happen, but we're like, you know what? Maybe it could. Why all this is happening with Kylian Mbappe. Marco Kurtimer, apologies to Marco if I'm mispronouncing either part of your name. He's a FIFA agent. That's exactly what's happening. The loan deals, they're just going to sauce them up to us. Quote, Liverpool are willing to pay 250 million euros plus bonuses. So this is beyond 250 million euros for him. They will compete with Real Madrid. The final decision will be made by the player. Rigo? Any world.
let me unmute myself. The only way I could see this ever happening is if FSG already have someone lined up to purchase the club, or pretty much buy almost a 49% share of the club, and this is one of the contingencies based on that. Otherwise, there's no way in hell John Henry's paying all that money and blowing up the actual team structure with the superstars we currently have on the squad. And after neglecting this team for quite a number of years, as we've seen now in the reports that have come out, we're operating basically at 19th in the Premier League as far as investment is concerned. So I think this is a non-starter. I think this is someone who just needs to grab somebody else besides Real Madrid to kind of stir the pot for Mbappe to leave. And besides Mbappe's mom being a fan of Liverpool, I don't think this holds any water. What about you guys?
Charlie, I mean, come on, give me some belief here. The club's gonna take out a loan, you know.
I think another situation that may, if it were ever to happen, is the sponsorship. So we've got that deal with Nike. Mbappe is sponsored by Nike. There's only one situation. There's one possible scenario where, if it were to happen, Nike are involved in the financials for that deal, because they would essentially allow Mbappe to come to Liverpool, be that star player, the face of world football. As we already know it, kind of FIFA have recognised him as the face with the kind of consecutive years that he's been on the front of the game. He would be that type of player that would take Liverpool to that next level, and the Premier League. I know the Premier League is already obviously the biggest league in the world, but kind of reaching out to America and South America and the Far East and things of that nature, I think that'd be massive. That's the only way I can see it happening, other than the one that Rigo's kind of put out there with new investment, but it ain't happening, not anytime soon anyway.
It is crazy just that we allow ourselves to believe these rumors, not even believe them, you know, that they just kind of are we engage with them, so that's why they're put out there. Drew, I mean, is there any world? All right, let's assume the money's there. Okay, so they found John Henry was going through a walk in Boston, and he was just kind of walking around, and he just found 250 million euros just in a nice little briefcase on the floor, and he's like, "Well, I guess I got some money to spend here." Is this even a wise investment of 250 million euros when there are other issues in the squad? I mean, is this just a non-starter from the fact that, like, yes, you're bringing in this global superstar, but it's in a forward line that, I mean, Mbappe would be the best forward at the club. I don't think there's any question about that. I mean, Salah would, on his day, challenge him. But Drew, even if the money was there, even if it was there, would you do this?
Yeah, if the money was there, I would do that. And if we could afford it and everything, and it didn't blow up who we were as a club, all the ifs and potentials and hypotheticals, yeah. I mean, he's a player that will be at the top of the game for the next decade. He'd be, someone, if they fell in love with the club, could win us every trophy. It's pretty clear cut how good he is and how much he would improve the team. I don't think it's realistic, but I don't know, like, my one kind of like holdout of like, dreaming, like being hopeful, optimistic would be like, well, if Liverpool were looking to offload Salah, because his wages, his age, maybe PSG would want to, do that, but I don't think they'd take, Salah, 150 million off of the price tag of Mbappe to take Salah. But yeah, all the hypotheticals. Yeah, I'd take him. But I also like the structure of our club. I like that we're not, mercenary club. We're a family. We have a team that cares. Like that slogan, "This means more," when that came out a couple of years ago, I was like, yeah, that kind of embodies what the club is. I think Mbappe could, fit into that with the right attitude and under Klopp, that kind of thing. But I wouldn't want it to blow up and become like a celebrity destination, or, where Instagram's more important than the club, basically, or Instagram count more important than the fans.
We need those
Yada,
sweet,
yada.
sweet interactions, Drew. We need those likes on our Instagram posts. Kylian would do that.
Speaking of likes, make sure to like and subscribe our channel and this video.
Flawless. Excellently done, Rigo.
Thanks for the sec. Just one quick point on that, and you kind of alluded to it, Drew. I think Mbappe has been on a squad where it has been mercenaries and divas, and the lead player before even Mbappe joined was Neymar, and you can count on him not being around from January through March, at least of the calendar year, based on a multitude of reasons that possibly, whether birthdays or injuries, unfortunately. So I think Mbappe would be a player who would buy into the club that Liverpool is and playing under manager like Klopp. I think he's at the point already where he's getting paid obscene amount of money and obviously not garnering the same respect that other superstar players have with his type of success, and he won't unless he changes teams and changes leagues. So whether it's Real Madrid or Liverpool, I think that's basically his only options if he ever wants to ascend as far as respect wise, I think.
I mean, I got one last point myself as well. If you put it as he was the top scorer in the World Cup, scored a hat-trick in the World Cup final. If Mbappe was playing in a different league, i.e., you're talking about Spain or England, there would be a serious conversation about him being World Player of the Year. But because he's playing in France for PSG, who don't really do much in terms of Europe and the spectacle debacle, whatever you want to call it, about that league itself, he's not going to be considered anything like the best player in the world. If he has aspirations about winning Ballon d'Ors and numerous Players of the Years, he needs to make that move, and I'm sure he has got it. I'm sure he does have that. It's just he needs to kind of force that move if he wants to kind of reach that next level.
And does that happen for him at a Real Madrid where there's so many superstars? I think it's kind of a crab bucket for them there. I think Jude can kind of kiss goodbye to any Ballon d'Or aspirations, as well as Vinny Jr., etc. And if Mbappe goes there, I think there might be some tension there as well. So, but very interesting to see what happens, at least especially a year from now when his contract's supposed to run out.
I think if his contract runs out, that's when we might make a play for him. There's been a comment here that I wanted to pull up. The only way Salah going to Saudi Arabia for silly money, which we haven't really seen Saudi Arabia toss huge waddles of transfer cash to teams. They've done good sums, but the kind that would turn Liverpool's head and Salah's head would have to be eye-watering. I mean, we're talking it has to recoup at least half of this figure, of the 250 million that our good friend Marco is saying. If that was the case, where it was a Salah either to PSG or Saudi Arabia, but Salah's green light to move away, Drew, I'll go to you. If it's Salah for Mbappe and you're saying this might be a switch you make, you go get a guy who's 5-6 years younger. Are you doing that for you, Drew?
Yeah, I think I said that when I was giving my original kind of breakdown, that would be the refresh, because I think that's a huge position. I think Rigo was pointing to that with the Doku buy. We don't have a ready-made replacement for Salah. I expect him to, just given how much he takes care of himself, his focus, his drive, his ambition, all of that, to be at least at the level he has been for the next 2-3 seasons, maybe. But you're still going to need to replace him, and he's the highest earner at our club, takes up big wages, and it gets to the point where, do you want to just see him run out his contract with Liverpool and potentially then go to Saudi Arabia or MLS or something like that for a payday, or do you want to cash in a little early and potentially recoup some sort of transfer fee to put towards his eventual replacement? I think that case is more of a scenario of him wanting to leave than us just taking a bid. I think the Mbappe is, wishful thinking, but I think, maybe a couple of years ago that might have made more sense. But I don't see PSG wanting to replace Mbappe with Salah at the current age. I know they're fans of him, but I don't think it's the similar kind of bringing Messi in at the age. I think Salah has world appeal and he's a very marketable player, but I don't think, going from Messi to Salah would fit PSG's, and as a replacement for Mbappe in that context.
I don't see. Yeah, I don't see Mbappe fitting in this 11. And I mean, you can't get past the money element. But if you get rid of Salah, you just got to void it right wing, and you're hoping that Mbappe fills that. But that's not really where you want to play Mbappe. It's like you're taking this world beater, and you're playing either him or Luis Diaz out of position, or you're sticking, I don't know, you're playing Darwin Nunez. Nunez is like a right winger of sorts. I mean, that thought scares me. So
there is an argument. Yes, but there is an argument where the moment that when we start thinking about Mo leaving, we changed formation. If we think about a 4-4-2, let's just think about that one, and the right side of midfield is Trent, and then he has a really adequate backup as a right back, traditional right back. That opens up a little bit more. I know it's all hypotheticals, but if you had a Cody Gakpo and a Mbappe up front, that's pretty good. And then you got right side, you've got Trent, you got left side, you got Diaz, and then a nice double pivot in the middle. Am I not convincing anyone yet?
I think
moving me a little bit.
I think we're at least 3 years off of
Yeah.
Salah. I think dropping at any levels. I think he's still going to put up his goal scoring, and it should increase this season with a better squad all around. Hopefully, that we'll have. But in 3 seasons, and I think we're going to touch on this in our next topic. Who's even going to be the manager? Like, what style of play are we going to have? Are we going to be fully pep ball, or are we going to play 3 in the back, and then you don't really need to fill out those positions the same way? Who knows?
Yeah, I got a kick out of this comment from Dick Knack. He's saying there's no chance of Mbappe signing. May as well just debate hypotheticals. Like, yeah, George Best could do a great job at right wing, but unfortunately he passed away. So kind of limits his options on a football pitch. Mbappe will not happen. I mean, like, we have it in the title because it's fun to talk about, and if people want to get in here to tell us that we're idiots for saying that Mbappe might sign, but I mean,
no.
It doesn't make it makes so little sense that maybe it will happen. Maybe that's just what Liverpool does now. We just make absolutely absurd moves that make no sense, and then we'll figure out that we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. How Mbappe fits in the 11. I think that's an easier.
I'd rather have that issue than not have that issue.
Yeah,
if we're just simply adding Mbappe to this team currently, it's again, we have 5 substitutes, and I think we kind of have to form our squad with that in mind to be able to bring guys off the bench and everyone's getting a healthy amount of minutes. And again, the wear and tear on players and the style of play that we want to play with, which is high intensity. Use up those 5 subs and just have guys go, a full bore every minute they're on the pitch. So let's worry about that issue. I love them on the squad. Will it happen? I'll hit the Powerball tomorrow rather than that happen, I think.
Just to put a final button on it, folks may have been coming in on the Mbappe rumors. It was an agent who reportedly is close to Mbappe's camp, saying Liverpool were willing to pay a lot. I think also Marca in Spain were saying Liverpool were willing to pay close to 300 million euros, which, I mean, the money Liverpool makes per year is just north of 600 million euros. So you're spending half of your turnover on one player. It completely eliminates any, like, it'll be covered by shirt sales, which is what always is the thing. Like, oh, the Nike deal will cover all those. The money we spent.
We'll do it Chelsea, like 10-year contract, and then it's
Exactly.
just 30 million a year.
Yeah, 30 million a year. Who doesn't have 30 million a year?
Boom, T-shirts right there.
You don't got 30 million a year to spend on Mbappe? I sure.
T-shirts and bobbleheads covered.
Yeah, exactly.
That's Champions League money, Jack. That's qualifying for Champions League. Now you're starting to make sense.
It's been hitting me like the last couple of days where it's like, oh, we're not going to be in the Champions League next year. It's just a very weird thought. But Yeah, so let's move on to the other part of the title. Jurgen Klopp to leave Anfield in 2026 in very small letters underneath the big headline there. In James Pierce's article this morning, just saying that it looks unlikely that Klopp will stay beyond 2026. That's 3 years from now. I mean, his contract was originally going to expire in 2024, but he opted to sign a 2-year extension, which I don't want to say it looks bad in retrospect. I was very happy when he signed the extension. Was this in 22? Was this after the quadruple fell short, or was this before then that he signed the? I'm trying to remember when the timeline events here. Whatever it was, whenever he signed that extension, he has got 3 years left. It's tough to project, obviously, Rigo, but I want to throw it over you first. Just when you look at the long term, and if you're looking at a guy like Mbappe as a hypothetical, bringing into the club, and they ask the owner, the manager, how long are you going to be around here, Jurgen? And he says probably 3 years. How does that impact things long term? If Klopp's future is in question, how long should we be keeping him around for you, Rigo?
I think that's, to be quite honest, Klopp's only carrot that he's holding. Unfortunately, is how long does he remain with the club? I think without Klopp, the valuation that FSG are looking for, as far as selling any percentage or perhaps selling Liverpool Football Club, is even possibly not even half of what they're looking for currently. Just for the simple fact, I don't think we have the team success and the number of wins and notoriety without Klopp as our manager. As far as future signings, I think it does play a factor. I know 3 years it is a fairly long time as far as playing wise for a player and a contract. Most contracts are 5 years, so you would be looking at Klopp leaving midterm on that signing. But I'm sure whoever they're signing, they're probably reaffirming that the structure will remain the same with or without Klopp. But again, I think FSG, as we've seen on Liverpool as a whole, has kind of been a lot of fluctuation happening behind the scenes, as well as things that are directly affecting the squad, from medical to who's running the team as far as the sporting director is concerned. So I think there's a lot of questions that I'm sure prospective players have, but Klopp is staying for another 3 years and possibly not extending. I don't think it is a surprise, just because, again, who knows what's happening with this team.
Charlie, for you, again, just kind of looking at the long term, when you imagine Klopp, it's very weird, to think about Liverpool without Klopp, because he's been here since 15. He'll be here for 11 years when his contract comes to an end in 2026. Just for you, when you kind of look at the long term, what kind of goes through your head in terms of that?
Yeah, so it would be a sad day. It will be a sad day the moment that Klopp leaves the club. It's left such an impression on the fan base, on the players, on kind of European football, world football, hopefully you could say as well. I don't want to think about Klopp leaving, but there has to be some type of plan for that day, whether it is 3 years or if he does want to extend. I guess the thing for Klopp is when he said about when he extended, he spoke about the club as a family. Is the family kind of fighting amongst themselves these days? You got the owners that may not have their best interest, have the club at their best interests, because they have eyes on other things, golf and Formula One and whatnot. I'm not too sure what's going on with that. But if I was Klopp, if I was the kind of the coaching team, is this the type of environment that you want to be putting your best years, the last few years for Klopp, I'd say, before he kind of thinks about taking a little bit of a break and then international management? Is that something that he wants to do? I don't think it would be. I don't want to get into the conversation about who I would want, but Xabi Alonso could be in the frame 3 years time. He'd be really primed for that, making that move if things continue to go well. Hopefully he doesn't go to Real Madrid, because I probably suspect that they would like to have that type player go in. But yeah, who knows what would happen. 3 years is a very long time in football. Lots can happen. So who knows? maybe just Mbappe needs to just have a quick word and say, "You stay, and I'll come."
Exactly. I was about to say 3 years ago we won the Champions League, but that's like I'm that COVID. I'm dumb. I don't know how to do math. 3 years ago we won the Prem. That was like almost 3. When is the third anniversary? Wait, it was July that we won it. No, I don't know. I'm getting into weird side discussion. Drew, on Klopp with you. Long-term future. What kind of goes through your head, and what makes sense in terms of projecting from this far out?
I think, like for me, it comes down to how he's feeling about the job. I think Charlie talking about the family and what the families, are they infighting at the moment? Like his relationship with the owners traditionally seems to have a good relationship with them. They backed him. Like I think people when we were going sort of downspin, they're like, "Oh, Klopp 7 years, 7 seasons, like Klopp out, Klopp out." And I know that was the majority on Twitter, which you can't always, trust as whatever. But fact is, there was some people Klopp out, and man, FSG is like, no, like not happening. Stick by Klopp. So I think it really depends on this transfer window. We've all talked about this as like the make or break transfer window for FSG. I think they've lost faith in pretty much everyone has lost faith in FSG, and it's come to the point where it's just like you need to do this. If you don't, it's banners out almost if you don't address the midfield. But in regards to Klopp, I think if he's having his rebuild, like that was last season or coming into this season. You could see it with Darwin Nunez coming in. You could already see him trying to make the little changes with Luis Diaz, Diogo Jota, like bringing in these players to kind of pull through the next lines, Kanate at the back. And I think like if you look back on his time, he's won everything. He's won everything he could for us, and that will always be there. That will be a legacy. But arguably, like should have won 2 more Premier Leagues, maybe 1 more Champions League. He missed those like by such slim margins. And if you like tip those the other way, like that's an absolute like dynasty moment where Liverpool are the dominant force for that many years, like his reign. And I think that I don't know, like if you look at chances in life, like Klopp's essentially gotten another chance to rebuild the squad, albeit with like very stingy owners with tight pockets. But I think he loves the club, like loves what he can do with it, the passionate fan base. You could go on and on and on, but he's already started on the second run of a rebuild in the team. And is he going to leave in the middle of that? I I don't see him doing that, especially if it all comes together and we're winning. Like his wife Ula and his family were the ones that were like, I don't see you leaving in 2 years. Like so it seems like his family is supporting him and in his job and his, kind of life goals with Liverpool. And the only way I see it going south is if it was kind of like earlier in the season where it just seemed like the wasn't getting the backing, wasn't, fans were on him kind of thing. But I don't think that like that was kind of like a blip, for many reasons, injuries, not bringing in the players to cover, etc. But he was very adamant that he could fix it and turn it around. And you could see the energy back into him, like the last 10 games of the season, he was, roaring, like ready to go. Like I'm just remembering his celebrations against Tottenham after the Jota goal, like the fake hamstring pull, etc. So it's clear that he has a lot of energy and passion around the team, but I think that is like coincided with what Charlie was alluding to with how the family's doing interior in the club and then how we're performing. Because if there's a chance to add more trophies in the cabinet and build a legacy, there's no reason for me that I think he would want to go. I think it all comes down to if he needs a break, and if we're winning, he's building a new squad. He's utilizing the best of his abilities. He's having fun, all that kind of things. There's no reason for him to leave.
Definitely. And I think I read a really good article in The Athletic. I'm like 80% sure it was by Raphael Honigstein, talking about he's a massively popular figure in Germany. Jurgen Klopp is, even compared to like Thomas Tuchel and Julian Nagelsmann and Hansi Flick, most importantly, who's the current German manager. And he's losing a bit of, support. And there's a massive push to have Klopp be the guy who replaces him before the 2024 Euros. It feels like that would be stunning for him to leave Liverpool to go back to Germany, but he still features heavily in advertising in Germany. I feel like he will coach the German national team as long as he doesn't have his reputation take a nosedive over the next few years at Liverpool by being a bad coach or whatever. I mean, this was a bad season, not in reasons entirely on him, but stubbornness is a big attribute for Klopp. It's a great thing to have in a lot of ways, to be stubbornly believing in yourself and your tactics, but it can sometimes go a little poorly. So I don't know. It's a tough one in a lot of ways. So I think for me, like 3 years from now, I think it makes sense to move on to something new. I hope that we retool and make a run for the next 3 years with this prime. But once you get past that, it feels tough to really, look too far in the future. Could he be sacked? Is there any world in which he could lose his job? If next year goes bad, another year without the Champions League, is there ever, Rigo, you're laughing at me. Is there ever a world in which results lead FSG, who have this utterly perfect manager for them? Could he ever lose faith from the owners for you, Rigo?
I think it would be the only way he'd get sacked is if he finally relents and loses, and it goes the other way, and he's finally calling out FSG in press conferences for the lack of funding and the need to actually invest into this squad. If not, he can't do his job. Once he starts doing that, pulling a Conte, I guess, every press conference, just bad mouthing the direction of the club and the ambition of the owners. I don't see any way that FSG give him the boot. Again, I think our value, and you alluded to this as far as his popularity in Germany. There's a reason to it, and there's a reason he has his own Adidas deal as far as sponsorship. He's a terrific manager, and a lot of our success, I know recruitment played a big part as well, but putting those players together falls down to one man, and that's Klopp. The club will go on once he moves on, obviously, but we can only hope that we get a manager of his quality coming in once he does decide to move on.
Charlie, for you, could there ever be FSG, say, maybe you're not the right guy? Because he is the right guy in every aspect almost.
If FSG are prepared for the massive backlash, if they're prepared, or the thing is they don't turn up to games anyway, but if they're prepared for the backlash online, whatnot, from the players, then yeah, there may be a situation that he could allow. But I'd probably say that Klopp's got a little bit more integrity about him than someone like Conte. He wouldn't badmouth the club. He would essentially walk before he's pushed. That's probably what I would suggest Klopp would do in any type of situation. He's got a little bit more about him than most managers in the league, and he wouldn't be short in any offers. Let's be honest. I'm sure Madrid would want him. Dortmund would have him back. Bayern Munich. There's lots of clubs, lots of options for him. And just like what you guys have been saying, the German national team will just get rid of Hansi Flick and bring in Klopp straight away, I'd say.
It feels like a problem that isn't going to be around for a few more years. I would love for him to be able to go off on a high, kind of leave, with maybe some sort of successor already kind of in, tutored up. Because after 11 years, it really feels tough to go on in one spot, one group for too much longer. I was reading, I need to finish it, but I might also have been by Raphael Honigstein, but a Pep Guardiola autobiography. It was about his, it wasn't Raphael. It's about his first year at Bayern Munich. And it talked about why he left Barcelona, because he looked into the players' eyes at Barcelona and realized he had pushed them as far as he could, and he couldn't motivate them any further. Not that he couldn't tactically or work with the group anymore, but he just realized that they needed a new voice, and he needed to do something different. I think something similar probably happened with Klopp, where he's pushed this group so far. And it was pretty evident in the beginning stages of this year that they weren't hearing his message the same way, because they had been pushed to their max and they had nothing left to give. So I think it would make sense in a few years to move on managers, but hopefully it's him leaving with multiple time Premier League winner, multiple time Champions League winner, tough to imagine this team really competing for those trophies if they don't make the investments that maybe FSG promised, but maybe they won't follow up on. It's a tough one there. Drew dropped out. Didn't really get a chance to say when he was still around, but thank you, Drew, for being on the stream today. Want to kind of anything else on Klopp before we move on to our final discussion of the day from either of you two?
I did have one comment about the Premier League as a whole is going to be really, really competitive. I'm not saying that Klopp hasn't got the fight in him. I think it just makes it a little bit more difficult to try to be successful at a club when you got teams like Chelsea and Newcastle doing whatever they're doing. Arsenal spending money. It's just creating a situation where it's making it more difficult, especially with the lack of investment in Liverpool in the playing side and in terms of the investors anyway. So it's going to be a tough one. I hope Klopp can do it. I'm sure he can if given the tools. He's a miracle worker. He's won whatever he's won with the players that he has, with the budget compared to United, Chelsea, etc. Just phenomenal, absolute legend. Needs a stand named after him. 100%.
Maybe only reason why that shouldn't be the case is if we can sell the name to the stand to get him an extra midfielder. Maybe then that's the only case. It's the I don't even know a good sponsor. It's just the Twitter stand, away stand at Anfield or whatever. I don't know. I just have Twitter open, so it's just on the brain. A tool that maybe could help things with that. There's been rumors about Federico Valverde. There were some last summer as well. He's a guy who's been the connections to Liverpool have been rumored. Make it a Uruguayan connection with Darwin Nunez. It's an interesting one. He's a top player. I'm a big fan of his. He's kind of in a really good age bracket for us to be signing. The rumor was about 90 million euros, which is pretty reasonable. I think it'd be tough. Charlie, I'll toss it to you first. It'd be tough for me to, I don't want to say stomach that because they're signing a midfielder and they're signing a player of Valverde's class. I won't be like sad about anything. But when Bellingham is going for a bit more than that, and we're almost providing the funding for Jude Bellingham to the club that signed him over us, it would feel a little tough, but he's a top player. I'm interested for you on Valverde, where you kind of fall on him.
He's a fantastic player, isn't he? He would certainly replace Henderson on that right side of midfield for the team. If you just imagine kind of the Salah, Valverde, Trent right side of Liverpool, that would just be that you'd be pairing every weekend come Saturday, 3:00 UK time, just watching the Liverpool game, and that right side would scare pretty much most teams in world football. It would be a fantastic signing. But coming back to your point about the Bellingham deal, it's a bit of a tough one, isn't it? When we've spoken about Mbappe for like nearly 3 times the amount that it would have cost to get Bellingham in, but just crazy figures. Really fantastic player. Would it happen? Probably not.
Let me make the argument, Charlie, for why maybe it could happen.
Go on.
He's got Bellingham coming in. He's already got a midfield packed with talent, Camavinga, Tchouaméni, still Kroos and Modric around. He's not the guy in midfield. At Liverpool, he'd be the guy almost in the entire 11. He'd be competing with Salah, but he'd be right up there with the stars in this team. He would run the midfield. It would be around him. He's turning 25. They just won the Champions League. He's got a real, or they won last year. Excuse me. He's not won the Champions League this past year. I kind of just blacked out Man City winning the Champions League in my head. I think he would be. Rigo, I know you're a big fan. I'm pretty sure you're a big fan of Valverde.
Yes, 100%.
I'll toss it to you. I'll let you get your thoughts in on him.
I think it would just be an outstanding signing. You've made mention of the variety of options that Real Madrid have currently in their midfield, and them obviously just acquiring Jude Bellingham from Borussia this summer. One thing that could play a factor, perhaps, again, Jude's wages are astronomical. They certainly would have blown away Salah's contract here as well. Not to mention the payments over to his father as well. So I think I think we weren't in the running at all when it came down to it for his services. Unfortunately, just too pricey for our ownership. And it seems to me that he wants to make his name in Real Madrid as well. He's definitely a fan of their history. Saw a video of him perfectly reciting all of Real Madrid's history and star players. So quite unfortunate, but I'd kind of judge them separately. Federico Valverde, outstanding talent, about to turn 25 in about 60 days or so, right on the cusp of his best years as a footballer. And he can fill multiple roles, could play on the wing on the right side if you need him, could play center mid, could even play right back if you need to as well, kind of supplanting Trent if Trent needs a break and if we don't have an actual right back to do the job there. So I think he would be outstanding, definite teammate of Darwin Núñez on the national team. So I think that would aid in the comfort factor of Darwin as well. So that's an added bonus, but not certainly something that you would base a transfer decision on. But outstanding talent, and at 90 million euros and on a decent contract, hardworking player, guy who knows how to win and absolutely runs his ass off for 90 minutes. I think it's a no-brainer.
I think it 90 million euros is doable. I mean, we did a very similar number with Darwin Núñez last summer. You know, if there's a guy that they like, they'll bring in the money for him. And he would fill. I mean, he would raise the level of the squad immensely. It's tough to see, you know, but I think comparing it, if you have McAllister as well in that left-sided 8, and then you've got Valverde in that right-sided 8, you're cooking there. You got some good stuff. And he'll alleviate a lot of the issues with Fabinho because he moves and he runs and he covers ground incredibly well. So I would love to see it.
Helps out with Kanate as well. Kanate's had to cover so much ground with our recent tactics change. And with his injury history, we certainly don't want to be pushing him too much or giving him too many opportunities a match to have to make, 30-yard runs, 40-yard runs to kind of cut out the danger. So I think with more control, just because we'll have a better squad this season, as well as someone with that talent, whether it's Fede Valverde or even Kefren Thuram, to kind of hold that right-sided mid role. I think we're definitely in the running for a much improved season for this year.
It definitely would be a very interesting signing to make. More probable than Mbappe. I'll go out there and say I think it's a little more probable. Interesting. Any last thoughts from you gentlemen before we get out of here about Liverpool transfers? How expensive tickets are to, oh God, where is it? The Europa League final. Is it Dublin, Ireland? Yeah. Rigo, final thoughts from you.
Final thoughts. Patience. We haven't seen too much player movement of at least any reported targets that we're interested in, or any rumblings as far as them signing with other squads. So I guess the best thing I can say is let's just be patient, see how it shakes out. If at the end of July we are still standing around with just McAllister in the fold, then by all means let's start panicking a little bit. But for now, let's be a little patient and hope this new sporting director and the scouting department has some good targets for us.
Indeed. Charlie.
So Diaz getting number 7 shirt. That's good. I like that. I like seeing that. That was quite a nice announcement. And the second one is Netherlands went out of the Euros. Would that kind of open up opportunities to start talking to Gravenberch and Mickey? Would there be something to think about there? So that's just a couple of points from me from today's news.
We need France out ASAP.
We do need France out. Yeah, we do.
We need Kefram. We need him. Very interesting days to come. It is just June 27th. It's not, the window is not rapidly coming to a close. There still is 2 months of it. Obviously, you'd like to see some signings be made done, but Charlie, you make a great point. Mickey van de Ven, Ryan Gravenberch, pair of players that Liverpool have been interested in, reportedly. They have got now holidays and maybe contract negotiations to embark under. And if anything like that should progress, we're your spot. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, most importantly for us here. Streams more consistently coming. We're streamlining things to get more discussions, more videos, more content coming your way. So make sure you subscribe for that. For my good friends Rigo and Charlie, I've been Jack. This has been a stream from the LFC Transfer Room. We'll catch you next time. Take care.